Good evening. This is your professor. I'm going to go over kind of the initial outlook, kind of the nuts and bolts of what I initially want from this theory to practice paper. If you have any questions, be sure to email me. And without further ado, I'll continue onwards. So the first part, what is a theory to practice paper, you may ask? One, it's an implementation of theoretical knowledge that can be integrated into actual practice in the field. One, I want, and I think that's where a lot of students are kind of having this outlook of 2 pages. Are you really just simply wanting 2 pages? Is this a joke, or is this, is this simply, again, one of the biggest things is I don't simply just want 2 pages of written work. I want 2 pages of written work that is selective, in other words. So I'll kind of go into the outlook of what I mean by selective. So continuing onwards. So in order to think through helping people and processes in the field of human sexuality, you will write a short 2-page paper that 1 defines and discusses one of the theories of human sexuality from the class readings. 2, discuss how this is viewed today versus how it may have been viewed prior. And 3, find one place or opportunity that you think exists that you could volunteer or work at or with that would help solve this problem in any small or large way that aligns with your theory of human sexuality, and defend this selection. So, by defend, what do I mean by that? 1, it means adding additional scholarly support to back your outlook. Do not simply say because I said so or because I am Diné. One of the biggest things I always come across is students that simply say, well, this is how it always has been, and I am Diné, and that's that. I said, that's great. I said, but also understand that if you're working on the reservation and you simply say that answer, you're gonna have so many community members or individuals that will look at you saying, well, we're Diné too. Does your perspective outweigh ours? And you'll create this whole uniqueness. So that's the reason why I always want to make sure that when you're defending, 1, you're utilizing scholarly insights. And by scholarly insight, I'm simply indicating that 1, it should have sound logic. 2, it should be selective. 3, it should have some level of theoretical base. 4, you should make sure that initially there is some evidence for your insight. So, formatting, what do I mean by that? The body of written work of the applying theory to practice paper should be 2 pages. Remember that the title and abstract and the reference page do not count in the body of the paper. Again, all I'm simply asking for is 2 scholarly references needed to be applied to this paper. Do not use .com, .org, .net sites for your sources. This needs to be scholarly resource articles from legitimate journals, not Popular Science, not Cosmopolitan, not utilizing all these different outlooks. I want to make sure that you're utilizing scholarly references. So now, moving forward, formatting. Again, it must be double space, 1-inch margins, 12-point font, times New Roman. Number the pages in the margin, and I'll go over that in a little bit. 2 pages maximum of written work. And the reason why I'm asking only for 2 pages is I want you to have this paper honed to the point where initially you're being selective. I have students that initially say, yeah, I have all these ideas, and I'm like, great, that's awesome. I'm glad you have all these ideas. Now I need you to break it down. I know you're being taught to write more and more and more. Now I'm having you go backwards, and I want you to be able to break this down and make it to the point where it is very selective, but it's also very detailed. So you're initially getting rid of the how would you call it? The filler words. Now you're simply being selective of how you're writing it. And that's one of the things I want you to be able to do. Because again, the best way I can look at this is, or the best insight I can give, or the best example I can give is, say for example, you're in the community, and as you're in the community, you're giving a presentation. As you're giving this presentation, I'm sitting in the back row, and I'm listening to all these different theoretical insights. And I'm thinking, that's good stuff. Now, I raise my hand. As I raise my hand, I'm going to start asking you questions. As I ask those questions, initially I want to know where you're getting this insight from, how you came across this insight, what base you're actually initially positioning yourself off of. And that's one of the biggest things I'm always looking at is, when you go out into the field or you're working in any community, you should have that initial knowledge as well as the practical wisdom that goes behind it. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm always looking at. So now, this is not a work in fantasy or wonderment, but rather a focus on what you can write and also offer. So again, on your left, you'll find that this is what a page looks like of written work. The one on the right is what a half a page looks like. I don't want a page and a half. I want 2 pages. So 2 pages of paper on your left of written work. So again, that's what it should contain. It should contain all the different elements in there. And I'll kind of go over the different elements that I need and that I want to see. So page 1, how should it look? Again, this is your title page. Make sure you have a title. Again, I have students who simply just put title page. No, that should not be your paper. Your title should reflect what you're writing about. It should give me, the reader, to know what initially I'm going to be reading. And the same thing applies. Say, for example, I'm in the community and you're doing a presentation and you just simply have title page on your PowerPoint. I'm going to look at it thinking, okay, I guess they didn't go through the extra trouble of giving me a title. And that's one of the biggest things, is I want to make sure that you're always thinking outside the proverbial box. I want you to slowly break away from those initial, how would you call it, various frameworks, so that you're able to kind of expound on all these different things. And that's the reason why I want you to kind of look at your title and does it reflect everything that initially you're going to cover within the paper itself. Then you have the student name, that's going to be you, Denai College, your course name, instructor name, Jeremiah Barber, date assignment is due, make sure that you put that in there. Again, that's also listed in your syllabus. And the reason why I say this is I don't want you to lose out on, that's the reason why I'm doing this little brief video, because one, I don't want you to lose out on points. One of the biggest things is this paper is still going to be due. And that's one of the biggest things I'm always trying to make sure of. This is not like your discussion questions. Your discussion questions, you have a little bit of leeway. This one actually has a definitive due date. And that due date, if you pass it and you don't submit it, you will lose out on points. And that's the reason why I'm trying to make sure that you're keeping up to breath. That's the reason why you have this whole week to kind of work on it. You don't have any discussion questions. You don't have any quizzes. So within that, all your focus should be on this initial paper. Because again, all I'm asking for is 2 pages. But again, it has to be honed work. The other thing, upper right hand corner, make sure you have your page numbers. I cannot stress that enough. You're going to put that in your upper right hand corner in your header section. There you go. My mind just went blank for a while. So make sure that's in the upper right hand corner in the header section. Page 2, make sure you have an abstract, 250 words or less. Again, your abstract should typically be no more than 250 words. You're not writing a whole new book. Again, this should be a concise summary of the key points of your research, and that's going to be things that you've covered within the paper itself. Again, you're looking at all these different elements that you kind of just put together. Again, I'm only asking for 2 pages, but this can prove to be a very cumbersome exercise, because a lot of times you're so used to having 3, 4, 5 pages to share all your insight. Now I want you to whittle all of that down to simply 2 pages. Again, you're trying to get everything in. Again, you're going to have times where you're going to be looking at thinking, oh my goodness. Again, that's where I want you to hit that initial sweet spot. It has to be no less than 2 pages, and it has to be no more than 2 pages. I want it to simply be 2 pages. Fun time. So now, the body of written work and what it should contain. Again, your body of written work should begin with a new page. So this is going to be page 3. Description of the problem in your paper or project, addresses and why it's important. What you already know about the problem. A description of the approach to the problem you will use. How you would plan to assess the solution you propose. How you will have or would enact your intervention in the community, whether it be small contributions or a large contribution. Again, I'm simply utilizing that element of how can you implement this? How are you going to educate people out in the communities, or even your own family, or even your own friends? Again, that's one of the biggest things. You're having to think in terms of, as I share this insight, how are people going to receive it? Again, your findings, your results, if any, Implications and recommendations for policy, practice, and or future research that you would like to look at as well later on. So the last page, the reference page. Again, this begins on a whole nother page. So this should be page 5 now. You're going to have references. Make sure it's in bold. Make sure you have the indented second line. In other words, a hanging indent. Everything should be double space. Let's see what else. Make sure you're also implementing the proper formatting for references. Again, you have the APA formatting PowerPoint in your resource tab. Look it over. Make sure you're not missing out on the journals, or make sure you're not missing out the volume number, the issue number, the page number at the end for all of these different references. Make sure you have the last name and then the abbreviated first names, and this is for the references. But if you're going to be utilizing, as you utilize in-text citation, I'm trying to make sure that you move away from initially the application of quotes, because again, quotes are great, they're awesome, but also bear in mind that the more quotes you use, the less you're able to share your insight versus if you simply paraphrased it. If you paraphrase, make sure you have the in-text citation. I cannot stress that enough. Again, these are all things you should be learning continuously. That's the reason why I have you apply the in-text citation consistently in all of your discussion questions. So by the time you get to these points of actual writing, it's all second nature. And again, that's one of the biggest things I'm always trying to implement. So again, these are the different things of your reference page. If you have any questions, I'll kind of leave it to the next slide. So again, questions and concerns, please contact me. Again, this assignment is coming up. I believe it's due by this Saturday. I want to say this Saturday. I believe it is let's see. Again, it's listed in your syllabus, so you can look there for the due dates. It's also listed in the assignment itself. So don't miss out. If you miss out, again, you will lose points. And these are major assignments. Again, these are major due dates for these ones. They're definitive due dates. So initially within that, if you miss it, again, it will not be open again. So that's one of the biggest things I'm kind of ensuring. They're not like the discussion questions. Discussion questions, there's a little bit of leeway. These ones don't have any leeway initially, because one, I've already submitted I've submitted this assignment onto Blackboard about 2 weeks ago. So initially it's already been available for you for a while. So you should have been working on that for a while. Again, all I'm asking for is 2 pages, but these 2 pages should be well-honed work. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You know how to find me. You know how to contact me by email or by text. And we can also talk by phone. Again, if you do talk by phone, just make sure you follow the formatting of the syllabus in terms of contacting me. Other than that, have a good night. Be amazing. Be awesome. Stay safe. And right away, have a good night.